And now I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to extend the government's stance.
It's okay, you can do it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to point out the stance of the opposition. They're saying that we as a government is not solving the problem, but we say them as the opposition, they only tackle the consequences. And we say, in that case, you probably have to go around solving the consequences and solve the problem after it already happens. But we as a government, we think that in order to solve the root cause of the problem, you need to attack the ones who emit the most. And in this case, we think the industrial, in the industrial sector, in the economy, is the one that actually emit the most carbon in Thailand. But even if that's not the case, we say that under their model, they're actually penalize these people they want to protect. Because to start with, they want to tax the industry. We think that with this kind of blanket policy applies to everybody across board. We think that each and every company, each and every small enterprises would be affected. And the ones that would be affected the most are the ones that they claim to emit the most carbon. And that's the farmer sector that we need to protect in the first place. So we think this is actually killing the ones that they want to help. So we don't think that is the right option for the government to follow. Furthermore, we think that Thailand would actually benefit from our proposal in the long run. Because in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, we think that because of the advance of technology we want to create, would actually make Thailand become a leader of this, green technology revolution. So in that case, we'll be able to have the head start, and we'll go to own the technical know-how that other countries need, which I will further elaborate in my substantive. Now, we think that, and especially in the future, when this carbon emission trading become more important in the global arena, we think that because of the value of carbon emission trading is expected to rise 80% in 50 years, we think there is an urgent need for the Thai government to actually take initiative now and become a leader in the future. Not right now, sorry. Okay. So we think with all these reasons, there's a need and there's an urgency that requires the government to actually take initiative. So now, under their proposal, they say that, okay, why don't we just force them to do it by taxing each and every industry? We think that, first of all, by taxing all these industries, we're not actually giving them incentive to change. Because what you're saying to them is, if you don't change, we'll penalize you. What happens after that? You create this reverse psychology. You create this negative image towards the trend of green technology itself. Now, these companies will feel that they are forced into doing something they don't want to because it creates a direct impact on their money, on their profit they would get. This would actually lead to a negative perspective of these companies itself. So in the end, you actually destruct the organic change that otherwise would come from the company, from the people itself. Whereas we as the government think that by giving incentive to these companies to change and also subsidize this green technology, we're actually providing two choices for them. We're actually saying that it's cheaper to do something good and it's more expensive to keep on doing something bad. So we think because of this, these companies will actually feel more comfortable to comply with the government plan. So we think we provide them more incentive to comply with our plan, with our with our model. Now I'm going to go on talking about how the trend, there's already a trend in the society, but the trend still requires for a push from the government. So because we think that there is already active movements for the people and the corporations, but then the majority of these corporations still have this profit-oriented mentality. So we think that only having people wearing T-shirts saying "We love the earth" or carrying a paper bag or whatever, that's not enough, because at the end of the day, the major emitter, the major carbon emitter is still, emitting more carbon than we can ever imagine. So we think that all this effort that we put in would go to waste if we don't, not right now, Wendy, sorry. If we don't act right now, all this effort we put in would just get stuck, because the major emitter who's actually doing the most damage is not being aware of their action. What they actually do would just force their employees to wear the T-shirt or go plant trees, for example. Not that planting trees is bad, but that doesn't really solve the root cause of the problem. So we think because of this scenario, the government cannot wait for this trigger effect to happen. The government needs to push this company towards that direction. But pushing is not the only thing that the government should do in that case. Because we think that by pushing, it would actually create the negative effect. So we think that both at the same time, we need to create economic incentive and also providing them with the help they need in order to achieve that. So we think because of all these reasons, our plan is already being justified. Now on the point of how the people actually rely on how the people are relying on this plan to solve the problem, because we think that the most of the people, the majority of the people in Thailand actually have the agricultural career. So we think that because of this, the agricultural sector is the most would get affected the most by environmental damage. Therefore, if you don't solve the problem now, these people are actually the ones that suffer the most. So we think that because of this, we need the government plan to actually work right now. And because the opposition failed to show how their model would actually solve the problem, we think that we have a head start in that one. Now, on the point of sustainability and how this is actually create a long-term sustainability for the Thai economy, because we think that now we are giving them the incentive to, one, avoid tax, and two, receive the help from the government. Now, when we pass the first phase of this policy, there would be nothing standing on the way of creating the green energy in the green technology in the future. And now we create this competition between the industries themselves to actually produce more with less damage. Now, on the point of how Thailand would become leader in the global scale, we think that as when America and EU actually create early industrial revolution, we think that because of that, they're able to become the leader. Therefore, Thailand needs to act now in order to become the leader in the future as well. Thank you very much.
The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 47 seconds. 747.